Hi, I'm Charlie, and today we are going to be making fireworks in a jar. For this experiment, you will need a jar, enough water to fill 3/4 of your jar, 3 tablespoons of oil, I'm using vegetable oil, and any water-based food coloring. Now that you have all your ingredients, you are ready to start the experiment. I'm going to take my jar, and I'm going to pour my water into my jar. And then I'm going to set this aside for a minute. I'm going to take my oil, which I just have in this little cup, and I'm going to add my food coloring. I have green and orange, but you can use basically any color you want, and you can use any number of colors that you want. So I'm just going to take my food coloring and I'm going to put like 2 or 3 drops in the oil. Okay. And take my other one. So now that you've done that, you want to take a fork and gently stir so you can break up some of the food coloring so it's not just like all together. Okay, so now that you've done that, you just want to pour your oil on top of your water. So I'm going to pour my oil on top of my water. And as you can see, the oil is floating and the food coloring is in the oil. But the food coloring should start to fall out, and like you can see it there, start to dissolve in kind of an explosion. The reason that this works is the solubility of the food coloring and the density of the 2 liquids. So density is measured as comparing something's mass to its volume. So if something is really heavy and really compact, like in a tight space, it's going to have a high density. But if something is really light and very spread out, it's going to have a low density. So the oil in this situation has a low density compared to the water. So the lower density allows the oil to stay on top of the water without sinking or mixing in with it. And the solubility of the food coloring basically means that the food coloring is insoluble in the oil. So in other words, it cannot dissolve in the oil. So you might have noticed when you drop the food coloring into the oil, it just stayed like in its little droplets. That's because it cannot dissolve in the oil. And so the food coloring in this situation is denser, so it has a higher density than the oil. So once the oil is poured on top of the water, the food coloring begins to sink out of the oil and into the water. And now that the food coloring is touching the water, which is a substance the food coloring can dissolve in, the food coloring explodes and the color is, you can begin to see the color, and that's how you get the little fireworks in your jar. Thanks for watching.